Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my March reading wrap up. I read 15 books, I think, and majority of the month, or the last half of the month, I was in a reading slump. So a lot of these books were not my favorite, but we're going to talk about everything that I read. So if you're interested in seeing the books that I read this month, then just keep watching. First book I actually don't have in my stack right here because I read it on my Kindle, and it was Ghosted by J.M. Darhauer, I think is the name, and it's basically like a second chance romance, I guess, but also with like a single parent trope. It felt like I was reading like a Wattpad type book because the dad was like a famous actor, and the mom and the kid, like, he had his own troubles and she didn't want him in the kid's life unless he fixed those. So he would always come back and like try to be better for the mom and his daughter. And I kind of liked that. The aspect, normally I don't like kids in books, but the girl was really cute and I think the romance was really cute, and I liked that they were friends and like grew up in childhood lovers, and then, you know, we got the pregnancy trope, and then she like basically kicked him out until he got his life together. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I read was Red Rising by Pierce Brown, and this is the first, well, is this the first sci-fi book I've read? I don't know, but I don't read sci-fi that often, so it was intriguing. Like, it had me like the first 50 pages or so, because it like takes place on Mars or something, and it reminds me of Star Trek almost, where I feel like my stepdad doesn't read, but I feel like he would like this because he likes Star Trek, and I feel like this is something that's very similar. But I didn't really like the politics or even like the main character, and towards the end there were so many names that I was just like, were in places, I was like, what's even going on? I think that was just a me problem though, because I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people rave about this book, but it just wasn't for me, and I'm definitely don't see myself continuing this series. And then I read The Prison Healer. This book is amazing. I had it on my TBR cart for so long, and I can't believe I hadn't picked it up sooner because it's amazing. This is my new favorite fantasy series. It's about this girl named Kiva who has spent 10 years, her last 10 years, as a prison healer in this high security prison where like rebels and thieves and all that stuff go. The rebel queen comes in and is sentenced to this trial where they like make her go through a different trial by different elements like water, fire, earth, and if they survive then she's free. And the rebel queen is so like sick and like literally incapable of doing this. Kiva takes her place and she does all of this, and there's a prince that she befriends, and so good. And there's a plot twist. Just read it, okay? The ending will have you running to Barnes to get the next one. And then I read Butro Blackbird, which this was not my favorite. I feel like I should have known that going in. Like, I picked it up in the spicy section and those like the dark romance, and that's normally not my cup of tea. So I should have expected to read what I had read. There are trigger warnings at the beginning. I just felt like it was so hard to, because it's 2 serial killers that fall in love, and they basically kill people that they think are like terrible, like worse people than them, I guess. So they fall in love, like in like bond over that, and the things that they do, like too many graphic scenes, which if you like that it's fine, like it's just not for me. And like even the romantic scenes, I was like, I kind of don't want to read that in this type of book. Like if they were just serial killers in love but without the spice, I feel like I'd be like, okay, I can read this, because you know, you read like mystery and thriller books that have stuff like that, or horror books, but it being a romance, just I couldn't get on board. So yeah, it was just hard to connect to it and like the characters. Like, I didn't even like their romance because I was like, y'all are just serial killers. I don't know. I did give it 3 stars though. Oh, and if it wasn't obvious, I gave Prison Healer 5 stars. Actually, I think I gave it 4.5. But now that I think about it, I'm gonna change it to 5 because I haven't stopped thinking about that series, the entire series, and it literally put me in a slump for the rest of the month. Then I went to the second book of the Prison Healer trilogy, and it's called The Gilded Cage. And this one just follows, obviously I can't say as much about the second and third book because it will spoil what happens in this one, but it just follows them, obviously it follows Kiba, and after the aftermath of what she went through in the first book and finding herself, I guess, is all I can say. Yeah, I can't say too much else, but oh, it was so good. But it was so good. And then I could not, like, read any other book until I finished the trilogy, so I went straight into the Blood Trader. And this one, every single book has, like, some sort of plot twist that has you, like, gasping out loud. It is so good. I feel like I keep saying that, but the series is amazing. In the end, had some parts where I was, like, underlining it and stuff. I love the romance in the series. I love the fantasy and the politics in it, and it's hard, I feel like, sometimes in fantasy to like the politics, which I am, because a lot of the fantasies that I read, like all the books I read, I want there to be some sort of romance element. It could be like the teeniest, tiniest subplot, but as long as it's there, I'll read it. So in fantasies, it's hard for me to like care about the world and like other aspects of it besides the romance. But Sarah J. Maas does it. The Net Noni does it. The Prison Healer does it for me. It's such a great series. If you're gonna read anything out of everything I talk about today, read The Prison Healer. You will thank me later. And then I read All the Light We Cannot See. I was trying to read this so I could watch the show on Netflix, and I still haven't watched it. I've only watched the first episode because my boyfriend wanted to watch it with me, and he works a lot, so I'm waiting to watch it with him. It kind of disappointed me. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be about. I thought the two main characters, like, it tells you on the back that it says they come together, like their paths cross, because you're following both of them, their different journeys throughout the World War II. One's a German soldier, and the other girl is a blind girl who lives in France with her dad. And I thought that they were going to meet sooner, and when they did meet, it was like so underwhelming and like lasted for less than a page. And I was just like, what was the point? I think I was just wanting there to be more, or I expected too much. I think if I didn't go in here thinking that, this would have been great, because I love books set in this time period, and I love books like this. Like The Book Thief is one of my favorite books of all time, and I love historical fiction, but I think my expectations were different, so it let me down based off that. I try not to read. I think I gave it 2 stars, just because it didn't keep my interest for the majority of the book. I feel like some things were some of the plot was just unnecessary, and it was long for no reason. And then I read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a Norse-inspired fantasy, which I've never read anything like that. It was pink. I liked that aspect of it. I also love the sprayed edges and the cover. And the main character is like there's a good main character, female main character. Although I kind of guessed the ending. I can't really say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but I kind of guessed the ending of the plot, like how it was going to go with like some other characters, because I've read fantasies that ends like that. I feel like that's a typical thing to happen in these type of fantasies, but it was still really good, and I think this is going to be a series because it says it's book 1. I'll definitely be continuing the series, and I gave it 4 stars. And this is where I get into, I was kind of in a slump, because I think what started it was I finished The Blood Trader, and then I went into All the Light We Cannot See. A Fate Inked in Blood was obviously good, but then it started to go downhill from here. So I read Curse of the Wolf King by Tessandra Oded, and I was not having it. it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is why I wanted to get into this series, because she has other books. They're all like kind of like princess retellings. Like there's a Snow White one, there's a Little Mermaid one, I think, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, but this is the first one, so that's where I was starting with. But I just don't like the world. I don't like her writing. It felt really awkward and like, I don't know, just repetitive sometimes, and I didn't like the characters. So I don't even remember what I gave this. I want to say 2 stars, because I'm trying to save 1 stars for books that I did not finish, for books that I DNF'd, not that I did give it 2 stars. Anyway, so I don't think I'm going to continue this series, just because I had to force myself to read this one, and because it was more than just not liking the characters and the plot, I didn't like the writing either, so I don't want to waste my time reading the rest of the series. I read The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the sequel to The Stolen Heir, and I think it had been way too long. First of all, it's been way too long since I read the last one, and I barely remember what happened. So I kind of went into this thinking like, oh, I'll start remembering as I'm reading it, and that did not happen at all. Like, the main characters feel so unlikable. Not Oak, but the other girl. They're so much more unlikable. And I was like, why did I like The Stolen Heir so much? Like, compared to this, like, I was like, I don't like the characters. I don't like the plot. Because I don't remember The Stolen Heir being like this. And I feel like a lot of it was just, the plot was like a lot of nothing. I don't know, I always feel bad saying stuff like that, but I don't know, this one was just disappointing to me. I also gave it 2 stars. Then I read Picking Daisies on Sundays by Liana Cincotti. I'm not sure how to say her name, but it's just a cute little romance, little rom-com. The main girl lives in New York. She is into fashion. I love that. I majored in fashion in college. Just a cute little rom-com. It was a nice break from the other books that I had been reading that I was not enjoying. So this one was a lot easier for me to get through. And then I think I started to pick back up. I think that helped me get there. I gave that one 3 stars. And I also, oh wait, just kidding. Because I read Cersei by Madeline Miller. And I was so intrigued by like the first half, maybe 3/4 of the book. And then it just fell flat. I think I don't know enough about Cersei and her original like story to where I like wasn't interested in it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's another perspective and like a retelling of her story, and I didn't know the original one, I just wasn't like invested in it. Like Song of Achilles, I loved. I think I probably gave it 5 stars when I first read it. But like I was invested in it because I knew the original like Achilles Trojan War plot like story. So, but I didn't know much about Cersei. So I just wasn't enjoying it as much. I feel like I'm describing these very terribly. I'm sorry. But I gave this one 2 stars. And then, now it starts to pick up. I read my book of the month pick, and it's Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. And this one was really good. It's about this girl who has a past in her old small hometown, a small town in Texas, where her best friend was murdered, but she was with her best friend at the time, and there's some evidence that like points that it was her, but she has no memory of it at all. So she like moves away to get away from it because they never find enough evidence to convict her or arrest her for it. So she's trying to forget about it, and then 5 years later she comes back for her grandma's birthday, and there's this guy who has a podcast where he solves unsolved crimes, and he is trying to get an interview with her, and her grandma kind of sets it up to like, oh, she'll be at this place. So he kind of ambushes her, but she agrees to finally help her. It's the first time that she's ever spoken to anyone about it, like a journalist. Like, she doesn't speak to people about it because she has no memory of it, and she doesn't, and like people think that it's her, so she's tired of being accused of a murder. She doesn't remember anything. So she agrees because she wants to know what happened to her best friend too, obviously. So she agrees to help the podcaster and gives an interview, and she's like retracing her steps. He's interviewing other people that might be suspects, and it's told through like the past, present, and when they're solving it, it shows the podcast of the guy with his interviews of other people in the town. It's very interesting, fast-paced, short chapters. A mystery thriller, I feel like, will always get me out of a reading slump because they usually grab my attention really fast because they're just so intriguing. They get you right at the beginning, and they're short chapters, and you can read it really fast. So those are this was my savior. So this is really good. It also put me in a mystery thriller mood, so I kind of want to read more mysteries after this. And then this is the last book that I read, and it's Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. This one, I don't know if I like it more than Done and Dusted. I feel like I like them the same because Done and Dusted was like one of the first small town cowboy romances that I've read. So it kind of holds a special place in my heart, and I just love the artwork of the series too. So cute. But I just love, I feel like I don't have anything amazing to say about it, but these types of books are just all vibes. I don't know how to explain it. I just love it. Just a good small town romance. That's all I can say. And I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so my battery died right after that last clip. That was going to be the end of the video, but I actually ended up finishing Happily Never After this morning. And it's still March. It's March 31st. I finished this morning, and it was really good. I think this is my favorite Lynn Painter adult romance because I read Mr. Wrong Number and The Love Wager, and I did like those, but this one's my favorite. So those are all the books that I read in March. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you want, comment down below, and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.